Greetings! I'm back with more linen. So last time I made 3 linen dresses, this being one of them, and suffice it to say I am now thoroughly obsessed and will be making only linen garments in the future. Thank you for coming. So what I have here is another linen fabric. Actually, I think this is a linen cotton blend because the 100% linen was $24 a meter and this was $8 a meter, and I'm cheap, so that's why we're using this. But I still think it's really nice, and it's this really pretty rust color. So I'm going to be making a pair of linen overalls shorts, overall linen shorts. Whatever combination of words that describe to you properly what I want to make, that's what I'm making. Shorts that are linen and also overalls. That one sounded the best. So what I'm going to do is pre-treat this the same way that I did in my linen dresses video, which check that out if you haven't seen it. But first, we're just going to iron this whole thing on a low, no steam setting and then wash it. And once it's in the wash, I will work on the pattern, and then afterwards we'll iron it again, and then we can finally start, you know, making these shorts. So let's do all that stuff.
Oh good, ironing linen, my favorite thing. Luckily, I only had 3 meters to iron this time, so it wasn't so bad. I view this step as less of a getting rid of wrinkles phase and more of a setting anti-wrinkle finishes into the fabric phase, so I'm not super fussy about this. Once it had been ironed, I popped the fabric in the wash and started working on the pattern. Okay, so I have a pair of shorts here that fit pretty well, so I'm going to use that as kind of the starting point for the pattern. And then, you know, add the front. I'm so good at explaining stuff. Anyway, I guess you'll see. I'm just going to probably extend the length a little bit because I would like them to be a little bit longer, and I'll probably make them a little bit just wider and bigger in general because I don't know about you, but I may have put on some weight in the past year. Something about being on lockdown and not really being able to leave your house, so I'm gonna make these a little bit roomier. I first started by tracing around the shape of the shorts, then I could add extra seam allowance and roominess around the edges. I also knew I wanted a wide cuff at the bottom, so I extended the length quite a bit. I measured from where the shorts sit on my hips to where I wanted the top of the bib front thing to be and how high I wanted them to come up on the sides, and kind of eyeballed a slope shape between those points. After holding the paper pattern up to myself, I realized I had made the front way too narrow, so I taped on another piece of paper and adjusted this shape. So this is looking a little crazy right now, but you know, we'll see how it goes when I make the mock-up. I'm also going to have to figure out if this will be like spacious enough to get into without some kind of closure, or if I need to add buttons down the front or the sides or something. So this is just the front. I have to make a piece for the back as well, and then I can make a mock-up. I folded the shorts in half the opposite way and then just repeated the pattern making process, matching up the lines with the other half of the pattern. I have finished the mock-up and I think it's like pretty close to good. So I think this needs to come up a little bit higher here, and probably also like the strap part, and then I kind of need to widen this scoop as well and make it come over like, I don't know. It should probably end like here-ish. And this seems a little too curved, like it might have to be a less straight down line. And then the back, which I don't know if you can see, but basically the same thing, actually the opposite thing. This swoop I think needs to be swoopier, longer, and then the like back where the straps will attach needs to go up higher and be thinner. But other than that, I think it's looking pretty cute. It's not like a super flattering shape, but I don't care because I'm just, you know, just something comfy to wear. So I'm gonna make those few changes. I don't know if I'll do another mock-up, but we'll see. Also, hold on. I just pulled my fabric out of the dryer and it looks great. I don't think I'm gonna, I mean, I'll iron it, but I don't think it's going to need much ironing in its life, so that's good. Linen cotton blends, awesome. I just pinned some scrap fabric to act as straps, and I'm glad I did because I actually think that I don't need to make a lot of the changes that I said. The back still needs to be raised up a little bit, like 3 inches maybe. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. I don't want to adjust this slope, I think. And so, yeah, all I have to change is bring the strap attachment thing out a little bit and adjust that curve there, and then again raise this up a little bit so it's less of a dive, I suppose. Other than that, I think it's actually good. So I'm going to make those few changes and then I can cut out the fabric. So I have fussed with the patterns a little bit more. Basically, for both of them, kind of like center front and center back, I took out some of the width here. So it used to be they both were like a straight line. So I've taken out some of that I did take in the pattern, and I adjusted the front strap area. I don't want to make another mock-up, but I think it's probably safest. So I'm going to see if I have any fabric to make up a mock-up with, because I am running low on muslin and scraps. That's why I used this old like tapestry thing. So I'm going to see if I have any fabric to make a mock-up with and then try it again. I made a couple final changes to the pattern pieces. So I started by taking off about 1 centimeter from the front piece all the way from like the crotch seam up to the top, and I think that'll be a lot better. It's still gonna be kind of baggy, but you know, they're just comfy overall, so I am cool with baggy. And I extended the shoulder out again. So this is the 3rd time I think I've done this, and I think that'll be much better. The mock-up right now, the scoop neck part was too narrow, so this should be good. And I also added this like weird dart kind of thing. So this went straight down before, and I've added a dart in the back, so it kind of fits better over around your butt. So I think we are finally good to cut out the fabric. I drafted these patterns with 1/2 inch of seam allowance, so I didn't have to add any more while cutting the fabric. This makes it less likely that I'll make a horrible mistake while cutting, which is good. Please appreciate the weird way I cut out fabric. This is what happens when you only have one tiny table on which to work. I also cut out 2 little squares that would be used for the pockets. I left a little extra seam allowance at the top so it could be folded down twice and hemmed. I zigzag stitched around the other side so they wouldn't fray and sewed them to the front of the overalls. I ended up sewing them a little too low, so I might rip them out and fix them one day, but I probably won't. With the pockets sewn on, I then sewed the long center front and back seams together first, and I wanted to flat fell all the seams so that they'd lay flat and so the raw edges would be tucked away, but chaos ensued. So, two truly bad things just happened. Firstly, while I was cutting one of the seam allowances, I accidentally cut two, so now I can't do the flat felled hem here. Also, I'm missing half the overalls. There's the back half is just, it has disappeared. I have no earthly clue where they went. So, I mean, I'm sure I'll find them somewhere, but this, I really don't know how to fix it. So that's truly unfortunate. Short of cutting out another one half of the piece, but then like I had a lot of that fabric left over, so it was like, oh, I can make a skirt with it. That's awesome, but now if I have to cut out this extra piece, I don't know. So that is where the state of this project is right now. So I managed to fix one of the problems. I just kind of took the seam in from where I had trimmed too much to, oh my god, I found the thing! It was freaking sitting here the whole time.
What? Where?
It was on the table.
I thought it was just some
Scrap?
scrap.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, anyway, back to filming. So I managed to fix both of the problems just now. For this one, I ended up just sewing a little bit of a smaller seam. Like I took a little bit of fabric out so that I could flat fell this seam. So everything is all tucked in neatly now. I really like the way this looks. It's a little wrinkled, but I think if I iron it, it'll be fine. And I found the other piece just freaking sitting on the table where I had brought it. It was just so like a small folded piece and really thin, so I didn't know what it was. But anyway, we are good to move on now. I'm going to flat fell this seam as well and then move on with sewing the rest of this. Wow, what a journey. So this time I very carefully trimmed one of the seam allowances. If the top of the overalls were up, I consistently trimmed the right side for all the seams and folded the left over top. There was no reason for this other than it just felt right. Then I pinned the seam and top stitched it in place. This was my first time using these seams and I absolutely loved them. They lay super flat and are so comfortable and look really professional in my opinion. I then repeated the process of sewing up and flat felling the side seams as well. So all the inside seams are now sewn up with the flat felled seam, and I really like how clean it all looks. So now it is time, however, to sew up the legs, the crotch seam. And I don't know if I'll be able to do the flat felled seam here. That would be ideal because again, I like how clean it looks, but I really don't know if that's gonna work, but I'm going to try it and see what happens, I guess. Yep, it worked. It was a little tricky getting the one edge to fold over the other where all the pieces met, but I made it work and now all the seams have their edges neatly contained. Then I folded up the bottom of the shorts twice to make a wide cuff and pinned and sewed it in place. All that was left now was to finish the top edges and add the straps. I decided to bind the edges with bias tape because the shapes were a little too irregular to get them to lay nicely with just hemming. I cut out a square of fabric and made some continuous bias strips that I then ironed to make my bias tape. I followed a picture tutorial to make this, but I'll try and find a video for this process and link it below. With the bias tapes attached, I just added some straps and some buttons and buttonholes, and the overalls were done. I think, again, they'd be better if the pockets were a little higher up, so I might reposition them someday. overall, I really like these and I think they'd be really cute to wear to a beach or a cottage, and I actually wear them all the time after work or on the weekends. And that is everything. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.